Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you've ever been called too clingy or, wondered why the person you're dating suddenly pulls away the literal second things get close, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to decode the hidden operating system behind pretty much all of our romantic behaviors. We're relying on the core ideas from Amir Levine and Rachel Heller's massively popular book Attached, alongside some really fascinating clinical research. Basically, we're going to break down the actual science of why we love the way we do.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think about it for a second. Why do we keep repeating the exact same exhausting relationship arguments, sometimes across entirely different relationships? I mean, we've all been there, right? You know that universal stomach-dropping pain of a text left unanswered for 6 hours while you're literally watching their Instagram story update? Or, hey, maybe you've been on the other side, feeling completely suffocated, desperately needing to walk away during a fight just so you can breathe. Well, these aren't just personality quirks or communication flaws. As we're going to see, they are deeply ingrained biological responses. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the science of connection, cover the 3 adult attachment styles, and then unpack the infamous anxious-avoidant trap. After that, we'll rethink the avoidant stereotype, look at the secure relationship blueprint, and finally, wrap up with how you can actually earn a secure attachment. We're not just diagnosing problems today. We are focusing on actionable solutions for lasting security. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Science of Connection and Why We're Wired for Closeness.
So the absolute crucial point here is that human beings are literally biologically wired for connection. This goes way back to the pioneering work of psychologists John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. They discovered that we all have what's called an attachment system. Think of it kind of like a radar in your brain that constantly, 24/7, monitors your environment for safety and proximity to the people you love. When you feel disconnected from a partner, this alarm goes off. It's a real biological mechanism. You aren't being too sensitive. Your nervous system is simply trying to regulate your sense of safety.
Moving on to Section 2, the 3 adult attachment styles and how we love.
All right, here are our basic relationship blueprints. First up, we have the secure style. These folks are completely comfortable with closeness, and they communicate their issues directly. No games. Next, we have the anxious style. An anxiously attached person really craves intense intimacy, but their radar is hyper-vigilant. They constantly fear abandonment. And finally, we have the avoidant, specifically dismissive avoidance style. They value extreme independence and self-reliance above all else. When they perceive a threat, their instinct isn't to pull closer. Actually, it's to distance themselves. Maybe taking a sudden solo weekend trip or shutting down during an argument, all because they fear being engulfed or controlled.
Now, this concept right here brilliantly illustrates why dating can feel so incredibly frustrating. Let's look at the math of the dating pool. Roughly 50% of the population is secure, about 25% is avoidant, 20% anxious, and 5% disorganized. But here is the catch. Secure people tend to settle down really quickly into long-term relationships, so they just take themselves right out of the dating pool. Avoidant individuals, however, tend to end relationships more frequently and jump right back in. So just by pure probability, if you are an anxious dater looking for love, you are disproportionately likely to run into and date an avoidant partner.
That brings us to Section 3. The anxious-avoidant trap, the roller coaster. When an anxious person feels disconnected, their attachment system essentially goes into overdrive. In psychology, we call this protest behavior. It's basically any externalizing action used to reestablish a connection and get their partner's attention. It might look like calling 10 times in a row, keeping an elaborate mental scoreboard of who texted last, or, even posting a cryptic quote online just to provoke a reaction. The anxious brain is panicking, and it's demanding closeness just to feel safe again. On the flip side of that, we have deactivating strategies. This is what the avoidant partner uses. Their attachment system gets totally overwhelmed, so they actively try to underactivate it. They distance themselves to make the conflict less painful. This could mean physically walking out of a room during a fight, giving the silent treatment, or suddenly finding these really small, petty faults, like, getting intensely defensive about how the dishwasher is loaded just to justify pulling away. Ultimately, they're trying to protect their independence. So put these two together and you get a vicious cycle. The anxious-avoidant trap is fundamentally a clash of nervous systems. The closer the anxious partner tries to get through protest behavior, the more engulfed and trapped the avoidant partner feels, which causes them to withdraw further. And of course, this withdrawal instantly spikes the anxious partner's fear of abandonment. They aren't co-regulating each other at all, they are co-escalating. Contrast that with a secure relationship, where partners act as a mutual regulation system. Psychologist Stan Tatkin calls this a couple bubble, where partners actively soothe and calm each other's nervous systems. Moving to Section 4, rethinking the avoidant stereotype and removing the blame. Now, a major critique from clinical professionals is that attachment theory can sometimes feel like it unfairly blames avoidance, but it's absolutely vital to understand this. Avoidant behaviors are biological responses to perceived threats. They are not malicious, conscious tactics to withhold affection. Often, avoidant attachment develops in environments where childhood emotional needs were met with distance or dismissal. So the child learns that connection is unreliable and needing it is actually dangerous. Distancing isn't a game, it's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism to avoid pain.
So what do we actually take away from this? Well, if you're navigating a relationship with an avoidant partner, a highly actionable tip is to not demand immediate emotional intimacy the second a stressful fight starts. Respect their need to take a breather. Give them space to let their nervous system cool down. Conversely, if you lean avoidant yourself, it's critical to understand that your silence and ambiguity feel like a literal survival threat to an anxious partner. Just saying something simple like, "Hey, I need an hour to process, but we're okay," can literally stop a fight in its tracks.
Section 5. The Secure Relationship Blueprint. Let's look at some healthy dynamics.
Secure people essentially have a built-in relationship toolkit. They are great conflict busters. They don't act defensively or try to punish their partner during an argument. They're effective communicators who don't rely on their partners to magically read their minds. They definitely don't play games with text response times. They're quick to forgive, generally assuming your partner has good intentions. And maybe most importantly, they view relationship health as a shared responsibility. They genuinely take responsibility for their partner's emotional well-being. And honestly, here is the best part. Secure behavior is highly infectious. When an insecurely attached person, whether they're anxious or avoidant, dates someone secure, the entire relationship dynamic fundamentally shifts. The secure partner provides what we call an emotionally protective shield. The reliable consistency and calm communication can actually pacify the anxieties of their partner, literally elevating the whole relationship out of the danger zone and into a safe, calm harbor. Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, earning your secure attachment by rewiring the brain. If you take away just one thing from this explainer today, let it be this. Attachment styles are not a life sentence. They're absolutely not permanent. Research shows that on average, roughly 1 in 4 people change their attachment style over a 4-year period. Your brain possesses incredible neuroplasticity. It is entirely capable of rewiring its responses to intimacy, closeness, and perceived threats at literally any stage of your life. You can build what psychologists call earned secure attachment. So how do you actually do that? Well, here are the actionable steps. Step 1. Cultivate deep, honest self-awareness about your triggers. You have to recognize when your attachment system is activated. Step 2. Consider engaging in trauma-informed therapy. Modalities like emotionally focused therapy, or EFT, or EMDR are incredibly effective at helping rewire those deep neurological pathways. And step 3, commit to intentional, conscious behavioral changes right in the middle of your conflict. To summarize those behavioral changes, start stating your emotional needs directly. If you want a hug, just ask for a hug. If you need space, say you need space. Learn to recognize the exact moment you want to engage in protest behavior or deactivating strategy and just hit the pause button. Default to assuming your partner has good intentions rather than seeing them as the enemy. And finally, make it your relationship's primary goal to co-regulate each other's nervous systems. Remember, attachment theory is a diagnostic tool to help you grow, not a rigid box to trap you in. We've covered the science of our emotional wiring, the anxious avoidant traps we fall into, and the toolkit for communicating safely. Remember, your attachment style isn't a flaw. It's really just a starting point. By recognizing your triggers, avoiding blame, and practicing direct communication, you can literally rewire your brain for love. The blueprint is in your hands now. So, the question is, are you ready to step out of the relationship trap and consciously build your secure connection today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to guide you through our next topic.